a heartwarming memory of a garden filled with fluttering butterflies and colorful wings in the garden full of blooming flowers. There was a most beautiful butterfly flying. Its wings were like being studded with rainbow fragments, with red, yellow, pink, and blue, interwoven layer by layer. And it also shone with a shiny luster. Everyone called it Pio. Pio-Pio's body is slender and covered with down. Its antennae are curved like small hooks. When it flies, its wings flap gently, as if dancing a light dance. The butterfly mother always says Pio-Pio is the little messenger in the garden. Its wings are beautiful and its heart is warmer. That early morning, the little bee buzzed but couldn't find the newly bloomed nectar cluster, and was so anxious that it was circling above the flower beds. Pio-Pio flapped her colorful wings and flew over, asking softly, "Wang Wang, what are you looking for?" Buzzing flapped his wings and said, "I want to gather nectar, but I can't find any newly bloomed flowers." Pio-Pio smiled and said, "Follow me. I know where the sweetest flowers are." It hummed over the rose bushes and arrived at a field full of pansies. Wang Wang immediately happily picked honey and shouted to Pio, "Pio, thank you, Pio, Pio, you are such a reliable little guide." In the morning, as the sun gradually rose higher, little Aunt Guago and her friends were carrying cookie crumbs. Halfway through, they were blocked by a small ditch. Guago looked up and saw Pio. She quickly shouted, "Pio, Pio, can you help us cross the river?" Pio immediately stopped above the ditch and gently spread her wings, like a colorful little arch bridge. "Come and climb over along my wings quickly." The little ants lined up and slowly crawled across the ditch along their soft wings. Guaguo waved her antennae and said, "Thank you, Pio. Your wings are safer than a small bridge." At noon, the morning glories in the garden were a little wilted because the sun was too strong. Pio remembered the small stream not far away and quickly flapped her wings to fly over it. She used the petals as small spoons and scooped up clear water again and again, sprinkling it on the roots of the morning glories. The morning glory drank the water and smiled again, nodding gently at Pio. Pio's wings were a little sore from exhaustion, but looking at the colorful garden, it felt particularly happy. Its colorful wings looked even brighter in the sunlight. In the afternoon, the little girl Duaduo from the neighbor's house came to play in the garden. As soon as she saw Pio flying in the air, her eyes lit up. "Wow, this butterfly is so beautiful. It looks like a rainbow." Pio gently landed on Duaduo's finger, and her wings flapped gently, not at all scary. Duaduo held it carefully and said with a smile, "You are so beautiful and you can help everyone with things. I want to be friends with you." Pio shook her antennae at Duaduo as if saying, "Great, great." In the evening, the setting sun dyed the garden orange. The little friends in the garden gathered under the biggest sunflower and held a small thank you party for Pio. The bees brought the sweetest nectar, the ants brought the most fragrant cookie crumbs, and Duaduo brought a small dish of water. Pio stood in the middle, its colorful wings shining with gentle light. It said, "I'm the happiest when I help everyone." Mother Butterfly smiled and said, "The fluttering colorful wings are not only beautiful, but also hide kindness and enthusiasm. This is the most precious thing." When the moon rose, Duardo placed the little flower ring she had made on the sunflower and gave it to Piopio as a small cushion for rest. Flapping her colorful wings, Piopio flew around the garden, bringing joy and warmth to every flower and every little friend. Because of the colorful winged flowers and fluttering butterflies, this small garden has become more lively and beautiful. Such days are sweeter than sweet nectar and more dazzling than colorful wings. The slow wandering of the blue-shelled snail on the grassland, on the sunlit grassland, there crawled a special snail. Its shell was not brownish like its companions, but shone with a faint blue light, as if wrapped in a layer of blue morning mist. Everyone called it Mong. Slowly, the body was soft and slightly damp. The antennae on its head were long and slender. When touched, they would gently retract and then slowly extend. Wherever it crawled, it would leave a shiny little mark. The mother snail always said, "Slowly, you are a little traveler on the grassland. Although you crawl slowly, you have a gentle and warm-hearted heart." One early morning, little Aunt Guago was hurrying home with breadcrumbs on her back. Halfway there, she was blocked by a small puddle and was so anxious that she walked around the puddle in circles. Slowly, slowly, he climbed over and asked softly, "Guagu, why aren't you leaving?" Guagu waved her antennae and said, "I can't get over the puddle. The breadcrumbs are going to be dried up by the sun." Slowly smiling, she said, "Don't worry, I'll help you." It used its blue shell as a small ferry, allowing Guaguo to hold the breadcrumbs and climb onto the shell. Slowly gliding through the puddles, it safely reached the opposite bank. Guago bowed slowly to him. "Thank you so much," slowly. "Your blue shell is even more stable than a small boat. I can finally go home." In the morning, the sun was slowly rising. Little ladybug Dion. Dion wanted to climb onto the dandelion to bask in the sun, but the flower stem was too slippery. After climbing several times, she always slipped down. After seeing it slowly, he quickly climbed over, pressing his body against the flower stem to form a small snail bridge. "Dion, Dion, follow me up." Following the soft and slow body, Dion climbed step by step to the top of the dandelion and comfortably spread her spotted wings. "Thank you, Mang Mang. Your body is safer than a small ladder. The sunshine here is so warm." At noon, the sky was a bit muggy. Little butterfly Sai came back from gathering honey. Her mouth was dry, but she couldn't find any clean dew. Slowly remembering that morning dew would condense on her shell, she quickly said, "Cai, come and have a drink of water on my shell." It turned its blue shell to the shade. The morning dew on the shell had not yet evaporated, shining brightly. Sai landed on the blue shell, licking the sweet dew, and immediately regained her strength. "Thank you. Take your time. Your dew is sweeter than nectar. I'm no longer thirsty. In the afternoon, dark clouds suddenly drifted from the sky, and it seemed that it was about to rain. Gradually, I recalled the little cricket lele living in the pile of withered grass. Its little nest was unobstructed. Slowly and quickly, he climbed over and firmly placed the blue shell over the pile of withered grass, like holding up a small blue umbrella. When the raindrops tick-tock fell, Lely poked her head out from under her shell and sang slowly, "Thank you," slowly. "Your blue umbrella works better than leaves. I didn't get wet at all." In the evening, the setting sun dyed the grassland orange red. All the little friends on the grassland gathered under the biggest clovers and held a small sharing session slowly. The little ants brought the most fragrant breadcrumbs, the little ladybugs shared sweet nectar, and the little crickets sang beautiful songs. Slowly lying in the middle, the blue shell glowed gently in the setting sun. It said, "Although I crawl slowly, being able to help everyone is the happiest thing." The mother snail smiled and said, "The slow blue shell is not only beautiful but also full of kindness. It doesn't matter if it's a bit slow. Kindness is always the most precious." When the moon rose, it slowly carried its blue shell and crawled slowly on the grass. The moonlight fell on the blue shell, as if it were plated with a layer of silver. Looking at its sleeping friends beside it, it felt warm in its heart. Because of the blue-shelled snails, this small meadow gradually became gentler and more beautiful. Such days are more pleasant than sweet dew, and more dazzling than the blue shells. A heartwarming story of the forest, filled with the chirping of pink-feathered birds in the forest full of wildflowers. There lived a soft and fluffy little bird. Its feathers were like crushed peach blossom petals, pinkish and giving off a soft glow. There was a faint white border around the edge of its wings. Everyone called it Shoo Shoo. Shoo. Shoo's beak is pointed like a little crayon, and its eyes are round like pink glass beads. When it flies, its pink wings gently flap, leaving a series of clear shoo-shoo sounds. The mother bird always says Shoo-shoo is the little sweet bean in the forest. Its voice is sweet, but its heart is even sweeter. That early morning, the little squirrel Guago was so anxious on the pine tree that it kept stamping its feet. Its pine cones had fallen into the tree hole and couldn't be reached or pulled out. Juju flapped her pink wings and flew over, asking softly, "Guago, why aren't you happy?" Guago pointed at the tree hole and said, "My pinnacone has fallen in. What should I do?" Shoo-shoo smiled and said, "I'll help you." It burrows into the tiny tree hole and pushes the pine cones out bit by bit with its pointed mouth. Guagu held a pine cone in her hands and wagged her tail at Juju, saying, "Thank you, Juju. Your little mouth is even more dexterous than a little hook." In the morning, the sun was slowly rising. Little hedgehog Kiyuki wanted to look for sweet wild fruits, but the paths in the forest were winding and twisting, and it got lost. Shoo-shoo heard Kayu's humming and immediately flew high into the air. After seeing the direction clearly, she flew back to guide Kayuko follow me. Head towards the direction where the little daisies are in full bloom. It flew and sang a sweet song, carrying Kuki through the bushes and successfully finding the wild fruit grove. Kuki bent over and said, "Thank you, Shoo Shoo. Your singing is more effective than little road signs." At noon, the sky was a bit muggy. Little bees buzzed back from gathering nectar, their mouths dry and tongues parched, but they couldn't find clean spring water. Shushu remembered the secret stream she knew and quickly said, "Wang Wang, follow me." It hummed to the brook and carried a leaf to bring the cool stream water to hum, buzzing. Drank from the stream water, flapping its wings and saying, "Thank you, chirp chirp. You are such a warm-hearted little guide. The stream water quenches your thirst better than nectar." In the afternoon, the little girl Duadwo from the neighbor's house came to play in the forest. As soon as she heard the sweet song Shushu, she followed the sound and came over. "What? This pink little bird is so cute and its singing is so pleasant." Shushu gently landed in Duadwo's palm, rubbed her fingertip with her head, and imitated Duadwo to speak. "Hello, Duadwo." Duadwo clapped her hands happily and said, "You are so smart. Let's be friends." Shushu flapped its pink wings and chattered in response, as if saying, "Great, great." In the evening, the setting sun dyed the forest orange red. The friends in the forest gathered under the big locust tree and held a small sharing session for Choo Choo. The squirrel brought the most fragrant pine cones, the bee sent sweet nectar, and Dodo brought a small dish of water. Shushu stood in the middle. Its pink feathers glowed gently in the setting sun. It sang the sweetest song and said, "I'm happiest when I help everyone." The mother bird smiled and said, "Chirp chirp's pink feathers are not only beautiful, but also hide warm kindness. This is the most precious thing." When the moon rose, Chirp flapped its pink wings and flew around the forest. Its sweet singing, accompanied by the evening breeze, reached every corner of the forest. Because of the chirping of the pink-feathered birds, this small forest has become warmer and more joyful. Such days are more beautiful than sweet nectar and more dazzling than the fluffy pink feathers. The forest gang notes of the purple-feathered, pointed-billed bird pecking in the sunny forest. There lived a special little bird. Its feathers were like ripe mulberries, purple and lustrous. Its beak was pointed like a small silver needle, and when its wings spread out, they looked like two small purple petals. Everyone called it Peck Peck. Duodro's eyes are round like black grapes. When it flies, its wings flap quickly and gently, and it makes a clear Gigi sound. The mother bird always says Duo is a little expert in the forest. A sharp beak is useful, but a warm heart is even more precious. That early morning, the little squirrel Guago was worrying in the tree hole. The nuts she had stored were stuck in the branches, and her claws couldn't reach or dig them out. Duoju flapped her purple wings and flew over, asking softly, "Guagu, why are you frowning?" Guagu pointed deep into the tree hole and said, "My nut is stuck and can't be taken out." Duogu smiled and said, "I'll help you." It stuck its sharp beak into the crack of the tree and, with a gentle peck and pick, it pushed out the stuck nut. Guago held a nut in her hands and wagged her tail at Pecking. "Thank you, Pecking. Your sharp mouth is more dexterous than a small pair of tweezers." In the morning, the sun was slowly rising. Little hedgehog Kuki had many wild fruits with thorns stuck on her back. She wanted to pull them out, but was afraid of pricking her hand. Jujo saw this and flew over quickly. "Kuki, don't worry, I'll pull it out for you." It carefully clamped the root of the wild fruit with its sharp beak, gently pulled it off, and also helped Kuki remove the small thorns on its body. Kuki stretched comfortably and said, "Thank you, Juo. Your sharp mouth works better than small pliers. I don't feel bad anymore." At noon, the sky was a bit muggy. Little bees buzzed back from gathering nectar, their mouths dry and tongues parched, but they couldn't find clean spring water. Juo remembered the mountain spring she often visited and quickly said, "Weng weng, follow me." It hummed to the mountain spring and carried the cool spring water with leaves, handing it to the buzzing. Buzzing drank the spring water and flapped its wings, saying, "Thank you, Jujuo. You are such a warm-hearted little guide. Spring water quenches thirst better than nectar." In the afternoon, the little girl Duoduo from the neighbor's house came to play in the forest. As soon as she saw Juoju flying in the air, her eyes lit up. "Wow! This purple little bird is so special. Its pointed beak is so cute." Peck gently landed on Duoduo's shoulder, gently rubbed her clothes with its pointed beak, and imitated Duoduo to speak. Hello. Duoduo clapped her hands happily and said, "You are so smart. Let's be friends." Pecking flapped its purple wings and chattered away in response, as if saying, "Great, great." In the evening, the setting sun dyed the forest orange-red. The friends in the forest gathered under the big pine tree and held a small sharing session for Juoju. The squirrel brought the most fragrant pine cones, the bee sent sweet nectar, and Juodua brought a small dish of water. Juoju stood in the middle, its purple feathers shining gently in the setting sun. It said, "I'm the happiest when I can help everyone with my sharp beak." The mother bird smiled and said, "Pecking's pointed beak and purple feathers are both very special, but kindness and enthusiasm are the most precious qualities." When the moon rose, Pecking flapped its purple wings and flew once over the forest. Its clear cry, accompanied by the evening breeze, reached every corner of the forest. Because of the pecking of the purple-feathered pointed-billed birds, this small forest has become warmer and more lively. Such days are more beautiful than sweet nectar and more dazzling than the purple feathers. The twin flowers, Tuanchuan and Yuanyuan, accompanied each other on the grassland by the sunny side of the ridge of the field. Two identical small wildflowers are blooming side by side. They are close and inseparable sisters. The petal on the left is pink and fluffy, called Tuanchuan. The petal on the right is so fresh and bright, called Yuan. The flower stems of the two sisters are thin but closely attached to each other. Their leaves are tender green, like little palms. When the wind blows, they sway gently together, as if dancing a duet. Butterfly Mother always says, Tuanchuan and Yuanyuan are little partners on the grassland. Working together with one heart, they can help many friends. That early morning, little Aunt Guago was carrying breadcrumbs with her friends. Halfway through, they were blocked by a small soil slope. Tuanchuan quickly shook the petals and shouted at Guago, Guago, come and rest under my leaves. We'll help you figure something out. Yuan Yuan also nodded in agreement, allowing the leaves to unfurl and provide shade for the ants. The two sisters discussed and asked the fruit to climb up along their flower stems and then slide down from the petals to the other side of the soil slope. The fruits followed the flower stem staircase and smoothly crossed the dirt slope. They waved their antennae at the two sisters and said, Thank you, Tuan, Tuan, Yuan, Yuan. Your flower stems are more useful than small ladders. In the morning, the sun rose slowly. Little ladybug Dion Dion couldn't find her way home and sat on the grass, spinning round anxiously. Tuan Tuan recalled the direction she looked at the sun every day and said, Dion, Dion, follow the sun westward and you'll find home. Yuan Yuan quickly asked Dion Dion to lie on her petals, using them to block the dazzling sunlight, and gently swayed her body to fan Dion Dion. Dion Dion followed the direction of the sun and quickly found her home. Before leaving, she shouted to the two sisters, Thank you, you are really my little guides. At noon, the sky was a bit muggy. The little bees buzzed back from gathering nectar, their mouths dry and tongues parched. Tuanchuan and Yuan Yuan quickly shook the leaves, gathering the morning dew at the tips and dripping it in front of Weng Weng. Weng Weng, have a drink of water quickly. Buzzing licked the sweet dew. He immediately regained his strength and flapped his wings, saying, Thank you, Tuan. Tuan, Yuan, Yuan. Your dew is sweeter than nectar. I can fly again. In the afternoon, dark clouds suddenly drifted from the sky, and it seemed that it was about to rain. The two sisters remembered the little snail living in the crevice of a nearby stone. Slowly, its shell was afraid of being soaked by the heavy rain. Tuanchuan quickly said, Yuan Yuan, let's help Meng Meng keep off the rain together. The two sisters spread their petals as wide as possible, hugging each other tightly, like a tender pink double umbrella, just covering the crevice of the stone. When the raindrops tick-tock fell, I slowly lay under the umbrella and said with a smile, Thank you. This double umbrella works better than leaves. I didn't get wet at all. In the evening, the setting sun dyed the grassland orange-red. The little girl Duadu from the neighbor's house came to play on the grass. As soon as she saw Tuanchuan and Yuan Yuan huddled closely together, her eyes lit up. Wow! Two identical little flowers, yet they are so close. How cute! Duarduo squatted down, gently smelling their fragrance. Instead of picking them, she found some small stones and formed a small circle beside them, saying, I want to protect you and keep you here as company forever. When the moon rose, the evening breeze caressed the grass. Tuan and Yuan leaned closely together, their petals gently touching each other, and their hearts felt warm. They looked at the stars in the sky as if they saw their little friends all smiling at them. Because of the twin flowers, Tuan and Yuan, this small meadow has become more gentle and lively. Such days are more pleasant than the faint fragrance of flowers and more beautiful than the closely attached petals. The heartwarming underwater story of pink bubblefish in the vast blue sea. There swims a soft and sticky little fish. Its scales seem to be sprinkled with a layer of peach blossom powder, shining with a soft glow. Its belly is round, and its tail is like a little pink skirt. When it swims, it spits out strings of shiny little bubbles. Everyone calls it pink bubbles. Mother Fish always says pink bubble is the little sweetheart of the ocean floor. It looks soft and cute on the outside, but hides great kindness in its heart. That early morning, the little shrimp Meng was spinning around anxiously in the coral bush. It wanted to find its mother, but the seaweed was too tight to get out. Pink Bubble swam over with a pink tail and asked softly, Meng, what's wrong with you? Meng drooped her little tail and said, I'm entangled in seaweed. Pink Bubble quickly used her soft body to gently push aside the seaweed, and also helped Meng smooth out the tangled antennae. Meng wagged her tail and said, Thank you, Pink Bubble. Your body is more agile than a pair of small scissors. In the morning, the sun shone through the sea. Little Conch Lele wanted to climb up to the high coral to enjoy the view, but the coral was too slippery. After climbing several times, she always slipped down. Pink Bubble saw this and quickly swam over, pressing its body against the coral to form a small pink slide. Lele, come up with me. Lele slowly climbed to the top along the body of the pink bubble and happily shouted, Thank you, Pink Bubble. The scenery here is really beautiful. At noon, the seabed was a bit muggy. Little starfish Xing was lying on a rock, looking listless. She wanted to drink some cool seawater, but couldn't reach it. Fen Baobo remembered the nearby Qingliang Trench and quickly said, Xing, follow me. It carried the stars to the edge of the trench. The water there was cool and refreshing. The stars were soaking in it and suddenly became energetic, stretching out their 5 little feet. Thank you, Pink Bubble. The cool seawater is so comfortable. In the afternoon, little Turtle Tao wanted to collect colorful shells, but it swam too slowly and many shells were washed away by the waves. Swinging its pink little skirt, it swam quickly towards the waves, carrying back the colorful shells that had been washed away one by one and piling them up in front of Tao. Tao held the shell and smiled, Thank you, Pink Bubble. You're even faster than a small speedboat. In the evening, the setting sun dyed the seawater a warm orange. The underwater friends gathered in the coral garden and held a sharing session for the pink bubble. The little shrimp brought fresh aquatic plants. The little conch shared sweet seaweed juice, and the little turtle presented the smoothest shells. It said, "I'm the happiest when I help everyone do things." Motherfish smiled and said, "The pink scales of pink bubbles are beautiful, but a kind heart is even more precious. When the moon rises, its moonlight spills into the ocean floor. The scales of the pink bubbles blend with the moonlight, resembling a pink starry sky. It wagged its tail and swam around the bottom of the sea, bringing joy to every little friend." Because of the pink bubblefish, this tiny seabed has become warmer and more beautiful. Such days are more delicious than sweet seaweed and more dazzling than pink scales. Little Raccoon's Clear Forest Cleaning Diary by the stream in the forest lived a chubby little raccoon, and everyone called her Chinking. She has a coat of brownish-black fur, as if wrapped in a layer of soft chocolate cotton wool. There is a circle of black fur around her eyes, like wearing a pair of small sunglasses. The most flexible part is her little paws, which can hold small pebbles to play with and also hold berries to chew. Moreover, Chinking has a good habit. No matter what she eats, she will first wash it in the stream. Even her friends know this. Ask Chinking for help. You're sure to get everything spotlessly clean. One early morning, Chinking had just washed a sweet red berry by the stream when she heard a soft woo-woo sound. It was the little squirrel Lely. It had picked up a peanut covered in soil, wanted to peel it but had mud all over its hands. It rubbed it on the down and made itself dirty. It was so anxious that it kept stamping its feet. Chinking hurried over and grabbed Lele's little paws, saying, "Don't worry, I'll wash it clean for you." She held the peanuts and Lele's paws, gently rubbing them in the stream. The mud on the peanuts was washed away and Lele's paws became spotlessly clean. Lele's peeled the peanuts and handed half of them to Chinking. "Thank you, Chinking. Your little hands are more useful than my tail. The peanuts are so fragrant after being washed." In the morning, the sun was slowly rising. Rong Rong, a little rabbit in the forest, was looking for carrots in the grass. When she found one, it was covered with a lot of grass seeds. Rong Rong was afraid that the grass seeds would get stuck in her throat and did undare to eat it. She saw Chinking washing berries by the stream and quickly ran over with a carrot in her arms, asking, "Chinking, Chinking, could you help me wash the carrots?" Chinking smiled and nodded. With her little paws, she gently plucked the grass seeds off the carrot and then put it in the stream to spin around. The carrot became bright and clean. Rong Rong took a big bite. It was so crisp and sweet. She shook her long ears at Chinking and said, "Chinking's little paws are so powerful, better at washing things than Mum's little brush." At noon, Duo, a little girl from the neighbor's house, came to the forest for a picnic. Accidentally, she dropped the small basket containing cookies into a shallow puddle. The cookies got stained with mud and water. Looking at the dirty cookies, Duo almost burst into tears. Chinking heard Duodwo's sigh and rushed over, pointing at the stream and squeaking, as if saying, "I'll help you clean it up." She carefully picked up the cookies one by one and placed them on a clean stone by the stream. With her paws touching the stream water, she gently wiped the mud off the cookies. After finishing one, she handed one to Duadu. Duadu took a bite of the biscuit and said with a smile, "The washed biscuits seem even sweeter." "Chinking, you are such an amazing little laundry worker." In the afternoon, dark clouds suddenly drifted from the sky, and it seemed that it was about to rain. Chinking thought of the little ladybug Dion living in a tree hole. Its hole was leaking rain. Dion was afraid that its back shell would be dirty by the rain, and was anxiously blocking the hole with small stones. But the stones kept falling down. Chinking hurried over and used her nimble little paws to help Dion arrange the stones properly. She also found a few clean leaves to place at the opening to block the gap where the rain was leaking. Just as I finished tidying up, raindrops began to fall with a drip sound. Dion lay in the clean tree hole and shook the spots on Ching's back shell. "Thank you, Ching. Your little hands are more flexible than my antennae. The tree hole will never leak again." In the evening, the setting sun dyed the brook orange. Chinking was sitting by the stream, surrounded by Lele, Rongrong, Dian, and Duadu. They were sharing the washed peanuts, carrots, and biscuits. Duadu also took out a small towel from her bag and wiped the water off Chinking's paws. "Chinking is very clean and loves to help everyone. We all like you." Chinking held the towel in her hands. A sweet smile appeared on her fluffy face, and her heart felt warm. Suddenly, she felt that her habit of being clean and her nimble little hands could help her friends solve problems, which made her much happier than just washing the berries herself. When the moon rose, Chinking was still walking slowly by the stream. Her furry figure looked like a moving little fluff ball in the moonlight. The forest is quiet, with only the tinkling sound of the brook flowing. Because of the clarity, this forest is getting cleaner and warmer. Such days are sweeter than sweet berries, and more beautiful than soft down. The heartwarming story of the little donkey's grey farm. On Grandpa's farm lived a gentle little donkey, and everyone called him Hooey. He was covered with soft grey fur, as if wrapped in a layer of dried cotton. His 2 long ears hung on both sides of his head, gently swaying when he moved, as if greeting. There was also a flowered cloth pad on his back. Grandpa said that it would be more comfortable to carry things this way. Hooey is neither too strong nor too weak. He can just carry a basket of vegetables or half a bag of grains. He walks steadily. All the friends on the farm love to ask him for help. That early morning, Hooey had just finished gnawing at the tender grass on the meadow when he heard the sound of panting. It was the old goat Grandpa from the farm. He was about to deliver the freshly picked carrots to the small store at the village entrance, but the bamboo basket was too heavy and he was so tired after just a few steps that he kept wagging his tail. But Hooey hurried over. bent her knees and asked her grandpa to put the bamboo basket on the flowered cloth pad on her back. "Grandpa, I'll carry it for you." He walked slowly with a bamboo basket on his back, his long ears rubbing against his grandpa's hand from time to time, but they didn't sway at all. Grandpa Old Goat followed beside him, smiling and saying, "Hooey is such a good child. It's even more stable than my little trolley." In the morning, the sun was slowly rising. Lely, a little squirrel on the farm, was picking pine cones on a pine tree. He had picked a full handful but had no place to put them. If he picked them back directly, they would surely fall all the way. When Lely saw Hooey passing by, he quickly made a zizzy sound at him and even handed a pinnacone to Hooey's back. Hooey stopped and gently shook the flowered cloth cushion on her back, asking Lely to put the pine cones in the small pocket of the cushion. Lely hopped and skipped, following Hooey to the squirrel hole. Looking at the bag full of pine cones, he wagged his tail at Hooey and said, "Thank you, Hooey. Your back is like a small shelf, helping me store a lot of pine cones." At noon, the little girl Duador from the neighboring house came to the farm to play. She wanted to send a basket of eggs to her grandma, who lived at the back of the mountain. But the mountain path was not easy to walk on, and she was afraid of breaking the eggs. Seeing Duador's anxious look, Hooey quickly walked up to her, slowly knelt down on her front legs, and asked Duador to put the egg basket on her back. Grandpa had spread a soft cloth on the cushion in advance. Duador stroked the fluffy grey and said, "Grey, you need to walk slowly. Don't break the egg." It seemed that Hooey understood. He walked step by step, very lightly. When he reached the back mountain, not a single egg broke. Grandma smiled and handed Hooey a handful of green grass, saying, "Thanks to Hooey." Otherwise, Duadwo would have walked for a long time. In the afternoon, dark clouds suddenly drifted from the sky, and it seemed that it was about to rain. The corn that Grandpa dried in the yard hasn't been taken back to the barn yet. If it gets wet by the rain, it will sprout. Hooey hurriedly ran to the pile of rice, blocking the wind blowing towards it with her body. She also made a huff, huff, huff sound towards her grandpa's house, reminding him to come and harvest the corn quickly. When Grandpa heard this, he quickly ran out with tools. Hooey even helped to push the scattered corn kernels into the pile with his nose. Just as the corn was harvested into the barn, raindrops began to fall with a drip, drip sound. Grandpa stroked Hooey's head and said, "Thanks to Hooey. Otherwise, all these corns would have been wasted." In the evening, the setting sun dyed the farm orange red. Hooey was lying on the grass, surrounded by Grandpa Old Goat Lele, Duadwo, and the chicks from the farm. Duadwo brought sweet carrots, to Hooey Lele shared the pine nuts she had hidden, and the chicks were still pecking at insects beside Hooey to eat. Hooey was chewing the carrot, looking at the smiling faces of his friends. His long ears were gently swaying, and his heart felt warm. Suddenly, he felt that his back was not just for carrying things. It could also help his grandpa carry corn, deliver eggs to Duodwo, store pine cones for Lele, and play with everyone. It was much happier than eating grass alone on the meadow. It turns out that even a tiny donkey can, with its own docility and steadiness, become a little guard on the farm, bringing safety and happiness to every friend. When the moon rose, Gray was still walking slowly on the grass. The soft gray fluff under the moonlight looked like a moving little velvet carpet. The farm is quiet, with only the rustling sound of the wind blowing through the wheat stalks. Because of the gray, this farm has become increasingly lively and warm. Such days are sweeter than tender grass and more beautiful than soft down. The guardian record of Grandpa Big Locust Tree's courtyard, in the center of my grandpa's yard, stands a tall big locust tree, and everyone calls him Grandpa Big Locust Tree. The trunk of his tree is so thick that it takes 2 children to hold hands to embrace it. The bark is like the wrinkles on Grandpa's hand, feeling rough but very warm. The branches spread out in all directions like a big green umbrella, which can shield from the scorching sun in summer and block the continuous drizzle on rainy days. The most delightful thing is that every spring tender green buds will sprout on the branches. In summer, clusters of white Sephora flowers will bloom, giving off a sweet fragrance. In autumn, small locust beans will also bear fruit, like strings of green beads hanging on them. That early morning, Grandpa Big Locust Tree was just woken up by the morning dew when he heard a buzzing sound. It was the buzzing of little bees. They were looking for a place to rest and also wanted to gather sweet nectar. Grandpa Big Locust Tree quickly shook the branches and brought a newly bloomed locust flower close to Weng 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 Weng. Come quickly. My locust flower is fragrant and sweet, and it can even be your little house. Buzzing onto the Sephora flower, he said while gathering honey. Thank you, Grandpa Big Sephora Tree. Your Sephora flowers are sweeter than others. It's so comfortable to rest here. In the morning, as the sun gradually rose, Mimi, a little cat in the yard, was chasing butterflies on the grass. While running, it got so hot that it stuck out its tongue and hid in the corner, panting for breath. When Grandpa Big Locust Tree saw this, he quickly moved his branches and leaves towards Mimi, casting a patch of shade. Mimi, come to me quickly. My leaves can shield you from the sun. Mimi ran to the shade of a tree and lay down beside a tree root. Soon she felt cool and even meow at Grandpa Big Locust Tree, as if expressing her gratitude. At noon, the little girls from the neighboring house, Lely and Dodo, came to the yard to play house. But there was no table or house. The roots of the big locust tree Grandpa protrude a piece, which is just right to serve as a small table. There is also a medium-sized tree hole on the trunk, like a small house, Lele, and Dodo put the dolls in the tree hole as babies and placed the small plates on the tree roots as dining tables, having a great time. Lely also raised his head and said to Grandpa Big Locust Tree, Grandpa Big Locust Tree, your tree hole is just like a little house. Our dolls have a home now. Grandpa Big Locust Tree shook his leaves as if saying, have a good time. In the afternoon, dark clouds suddenly rose from the sky and it began to drizzle. Little chicken Huang Huang, who had just been looking for bugs to eat in the yard, had nowhere to take shelter from the rain and could only huddle by the fence. Shivering, Grandpa Big Locust Tree quickly lowered the lowest branch to block the rain above Huang Huang's head. Huang Huang, come to me quickly. My branch can keep you from the rain. Wang Huang ran to the branch and hid beside the tree root, not getting caught in the rain at all. After the rain stopped, Wang Huang still found a small bug beside the tree roots and placed it beside the tree hole, as if giving a gift to Grandpa Big Locust Tree. Autumn has come. The branches of Grandpa Big Locust Tree are covered with locust beans and the leaves are gradually turning yellow. Lally and Dodo came to the yard to pick up fallen leaves and put the yellow locust leaves between the pages of their books as bookmarks. Grandpa also brought a ladder, picked bunches of locust beans, dried them in the sun and used them to make pillows. Lely touched the locust beans and asked his grandpa, "Grandpa, isn't Grandpa Big Locust Tree very powerful? It blossoms in spring, provides shade in summer, and bears locust beans in autumn." Grandpa smiled and said, "Yes, Grandpa, Big Locust Tree has been helping us quietly all along. He is the best old companion in our yard." In the evening, the setting sun died. The courtyard orange Grandpa Big Locust Tree stood in the middle of the yard, watching Lele and Dodo chasing and running under the tree, Mimi dozing in the shade of the trees, and Huang Huang pecking at food beside the roots. His heart felt warm. Suddenly, he felt that having stood here for so many years, being able to provide shade, shelter from the rain, serve as a playground, and even blossom and bear fruit was much more interesting than just standing there quietly. When the moon rose, Grandpa Big Locust Tree was still gently swaying its leaves. The shadows of the leaves swayed on the ground, as if dancing slowly. The courtyard is quiet, with only the rustling sound of the evening breeze rustling through the leaves. Thanks to the Big Locust Tree Grandpa, this small courtyard has become increasingly lively and warm. Such days are more fragrant than the sweet locust flowers and more beautiful than the big green umbrella. The heartwarming story of the blue fish and the blue river. In the small river at the edge of the village lived a very special little fish, which everyone called Lanlan. His body seemed to have been dyed by the blue sky, a deep blue. When the sunlight shone on it, it would also glisten with a bright and sparkling light, like a small sapphire that could move. Lanlan swims fast and nimbly, capable of weaving through the water plants. He is also familiar with every shallows and rock in the small river, even knowing which rock at the bottom of the river hides delicious little insects. That early morning, Lanlan had just found a few little insects by the pebbles at the bottom of the river for breakfast, when she heard a soft woo sound. It was the little shrimp Diandian that had just swam in from the downstream. It followed its mother to the upstream to look for water plants. But the current was too fast, and it accidentally got separated from its mother. Now it can't even tell the direction and can only circle around in place. Lanlan swam over quickly and gently nudged her tail, saying, "Don't worry, I'll take you to find Mum." He swam ahead, his azure body standing out conspicuously in the water, like a tiny navigation light. It was not long before Dion's mother was seen anxiously looking for her child by the water plants. Dion immediately threw herself into her mother's arms and turned back to shake little Susu at Lan, saying, "Thank you, Lan. Your blue body is more conspicuous than a small flag. I won't get lost at all following you." In the morning, as the sun gradually rose, a little crab named Qianchen in the small river accidentally dropped the small shell containing the snails into a deep crevice of a rock while moving them. The crevice in the stone was narrow and dark. The big pincers of the pliers couldn't reach in, and they were so anxious that they kept shaking their claws. When Lan saw this, she quickly swam to the crevice of the rock and crawled in. Her body was thin and flexible, just enough to pass through the crevice. Lan gently picked up the small shell with her mouth, slowly swam out and handed it to Qianchen, saying, "Hurry up and pack the snails. Don't lose them again." Pliers took the shell and shook her pliers at Lan, saying, "Thank you, Lan. Your body is more flexible than my pliers. How amazing!" At noon, a group of children came to the riverbank. They wanted to feed the little fish in the river breadcrumbs, but they didn't know where there were the most fish. They could only throw the breadcrumbs casually into the water. When Lan saw this, she quickly swam to the shore and wagged her tail at the children. She knew that there were many small crucian carps living in the shallow beach in the middle of the river. When the children saw Lan's blue figure, they quickly followed him to throw breadcrumbs into the shallows. Soon, a group of little fish swam over to snatch the food. The children were extremely happy and waved at Lan, saying, "Little blue fish is so smart. You know where there are so many little fish." In the afternoon, dark clouds suddenly drifted from the sky, and it seemed that it was about to rain. Lan recalled the little frog Guagua living in the reeds by the river. Its eggs were still on the leaves in the shallow water area. If the rain stirred up the river water, the eggs might be covered with sand and mud. Lan quickly swam to the reeds, blowing bubbles at Guagua. This is their way of communication, and also took Guagua to check the location of the eggs. Guagua quickly covered the egg gently with a leaf. Just as it was covered, raindrops began to fall with a drip-drip sound. Guagua lay on Yezi and called out Guagua twice to Lan, as if saying, "Thank you, Lan." In the evening, the setting sun died. The small river orange-red Lan was lying on a big rock at the bottom of the river, surrounded by Diandian, Qianjian, and Guagua. They were sharing Qianjian snails and the little worms Lan had found. Lan chewed the little bug, looking at the smiling faces of her friends. Her deep blue body shone with a warm light in the setting sun, and her heart was filled with sweetness. Suddenly, he felt that his blue body was not only good-looking, but also could help. Dion find her mother assist Kion in picking up shells, serve as a guide for children, and remind Guagua to protect her eggs. It was much more enjoyable than swimming alone in the river. It turns out that even a tiny blue fish can, with its own flexibility and enthusiasm, become a little sun in the small river, bringing joy and help to every friend. When the moon rose, Lanlan was still swimming slowly in the small river. Her deep blue body, under the moonlight, was like a moving little gem, illuminating the water plants around her. The small river is quiet, with only the ding-dong sound of water flowing over the stones. Because of Lanlan, this little river has become more and more lively and warm. Such days are sweeter than delicious little insects and more beautiful than the blue body. Exploration note of little chicken huang-huang's small courtyard in the small courtyard of my grandma's house. There is a group of fluffy chicks, among which the most mischievous one is Huang Huang. It has a coat of golden down, like a small blanket woven by sunlight. Its round black eyes keep moving around, curiously observing everything in the yard. Its soft and sweet chirping is so sweet that even the big rooster in the yard gives way to this little fellow. That early morning, Huang Huang followed the mother chicken in the yard to look for worms to eat. Suddenly, it noticed that in the grass at the corner, a little ant named Guagu was spinning around anxiously. Guagu's breadcrumbs had fallen into a crevice of a stone, and it couldn't reach them no matter how hard it tried. Wang Wang hurried over, gently pushed open the crevice of the stone with her sharp little mouth, picked up the breadcrumbs and placed them in front of Guaglo. Guaglo, don't worry. Here are the breadcrumbs for you. Guago shook its antennae at Huang Huang, quickly ran back to the ant nest with the breadcrumbs, and turned back to wave its antennae at Huang Huang as if thanking him. The mother chicken looked at Huang Huang and gently cackled twice, as if praising it as a good child. In the morning, as the sun rose slowly, Dodo, the little brother of the neighbor, came to play in the yard. Dudu wanted to find a little friend to play hide-and-seek together, but he was the only kid in the yard, feeling a bit lonely. When Huang Huang heard Dudo's sigh, he hurried over, surrounded Dudo's feet, and chirped "Jeet." He also pecked at Dodo's trouser leg, as if saying, "I'll play with you." Dudu burst into laughter and held Huang Huang in her arms, saying, "Then I'll hide. You come to find me, okay?" Dudu was hiding behind a pile of firewood. Huang Huang followed Dudo's smell and quickly found him. Gigi, he rubbed Dudo's hand, making Dudo laugh non-stop. At noon, Grandma was drying corn in the yard when she suddenly noticed a small hole in the bamboo basket used to hold the corn, and the corn kernels were falling down one by one, just as Grandma was about to find some needle and thread to mend it. Huang Huang ran over, covering the small hole with his body and chirping at Grandma as if saying, "Grandma, don't worry. I'll cover it for you first." Grandma smiled and patted Huang Huang's head, saying, "Our Huang Huang is so smart, it's even more effective than a small mat." Grandma quickly mended the bamboo basket and grabbed a handful of millet as a reward for Wang Huang. Wang Huang pecked at the millet, feeling sweet in his heart. In the afternoon, dark clouds suddenly drifted from the sky, and it seemed that it was about to rain. Wang Huang recalled the little sparrow chirp-chirp in the yard. Its nest was on a small branch under the eaves. If it rained, the nest might get wet. Wang Chuang hurriedly ran to the eaves, chirping Gigi at Juju, and even jumped up to touch a branch, reminding Juju to hide quickly. Shu understood Huang Huang's meaning and quickly crawled into the nest, using its wings to protect the little treasure inside. Just as I had taken shelter, raindrops began to fall with a tick-tock sound. Shu called out Gigi to Huang Wang twice, as if saying, "Thank you, Huang Wang." In the evening, the setting sun dyed the small courtyard an orange red. Huang Huang was lying beside the mother chicken, surrounded by Dudu, Guju, and Guaguo. Guaguo came with a few little ants to give Huang Huang a small piece of biscuit crumbs. Grandma was sitting on the small stool by the door, watching this lively scene with a big smile on her face. Huang Huang pecked at the cookie crumbs, looking at the smiling faces of his friends. The golden down was shining warmly in the setting sun, and his heart felt warm. Suddenly, it felt that, although it was small, it could help Guago find breadcrumbs, play games with Dodo, shield Grandma from corn, and remind Juju to take shelter from the rain. It was much more interesting than just following the mother chicken to look for bugs. It turns out that even a tiny little chicken can, with its own curiosity and enthusiasm, become the little joker in the small courtyard, bringing joy and warmth to every friend. When the moon rose, Huang Wang was already fast asleep in the chicken coop, her tiny body curled up beside the mother chicken like a tiny golden bean. The yard was quiet, with only the occasional chirping of insects. Because of Wang Wang, this small yard became more and more lively and warm. Such days were sweeter than sweet millet and more beautiful than golden down.